3 weeks before the party, everything was still calm, or at least it felt that way. The evening air drifted in through the kitchen window, warm and steady, and the smell of garlic bread filled the room while the pasta sauce simmered on the stove. The kids sat at the table with pencils in hand, their notebooks open, trading quiet whispers about math problems. David was still stuck at the office, wrapping up one of his long Tuesday meetings. That was when my phone buzzed. It was my sister calling. Her voice came through bright, cheerful, almost sparkling. She sounded excited in that way she always did when she had a big idea brewing. "So, Emily's turning 8 next month," she said, like she had been waiting all day to share the news. "We're planning a huge party at that new event venue downtown, the fancy place with the indoor playground and the catering staff that does those cute little buffet tables. It's the one that opened near the shopping district. The spot everyone keeps talking about. That sounds amazing," I told her, stirring the sauce and glancing at the oven timer. "The kids will absolutely love it. They've been asking when Emily's birthday is coming up." Then she got quiet just for a second, but long enough for a small alarm bell to ring in my stomach. "Actually," she said, "I wanted to talk to you about that." I turned the heat down and leaned against the counter, focusing on the phone. Something in her tone felt off, tight, wrong. "We're keeping it small this year," she went on. "Just close family and Emily's school friends. You know how venues are, limited space, catering minimums, okay?" I said slowly. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means you and David are definitely invited, but we're not really doing the cousin thing this year. Emily wants the party to feel more like her own circle, her real friends." My hand tightened around the wooden spoon. "You're not inviting my kids to their cousin's birthday party." "Don't say it that way," she replied quickly. "It's just Emily wants something cooler this time. Having a bunch of little kids running around doesn't really fit the vibe." My daughter was 6. My son was 4. They adored Emily. They weren't a bunch of little kids, they were her cousins, her family. "And you and David are family," she insisted. "That's why you two are invited." "Look, I'm not trying to be mean. This is just what Emily wants. It's her special day." I breathed out slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Have you told them yet?" "Told who?" "My kids. Have you told them they're not invited to their cousin's party?" "I figured you would handle that. You're their mom." I closed my eyes. "I'm not doing this, Sarah. If you don't want my children there, then David and I won't be there either." "Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. Mom and Dad will be disappointed if you skip the party." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before leaving my kids out." "It's not a family event," she snapped. "It's Emily's birthday party. There's a difference. Not to a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. There isn't." She let out that sigh, the one she always used when she thought I was being unreasonable. "Fine, do whatever you want. But don't blame me when Mom asks why you're being difficult." Then she hung up. That night, after the kids were asleep soft and tucked away, I told David everything. He listened without interrupting, his jaw growing tighter with every detail. "So we're not going," he said when I finished. "We're not going." "Good." 2 days later, my mother called. "Sarah told me you're not coming to Emily's party." "What's going on?" I explained. Mom made sympathetic sounds, but her words leaned in my sister's direction. "It's Sarah's choice," she said. "She can invite who she wants. You can't force her to include everyone." "I'm not forcing anything. I'm choosing not to attend something where my children are deliberately left out." "You're making it bigger than it is. Just come to the party. The kids won't even notice. They'll notice when every other grandchild is there except them." "You're being stubborn." "I'm being a parent." The next 3 weeks were heavy, stretched thin with tension. My sister sent party details in the family group chat. I didn't reply. My brother asked if there was drama. I gave him the short version. He said he got it but was still taking his kids because he didn't want to stir trouble. When the day of the party came, a warm Saturday afternoon bright with sun, David and I took our kids to the aquarium. We made it a big outing, lunch at their favorite place, extra time at each exhibit. We didn't mention the party happening across town. There was no reason to break their hearts, but someone else already had. We were standing in front of the glowing jellyfish tank when my daughter tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, Is Emily's birthday party today? My stomach dropped. David stiffened beside me, his hand steadying our son. How did you know that, sweetie? Grandma told me yesterday when she called. She asked what I was going to wear and if I was excited. Of course she did. Sweetie, yes. It's today. Are we going after the aquarium? I knelt down. No, honey. We're not going to that party. Why not? How do you explain something like that to a 6-year-old? How do you tell her that her aunt didn't think she mattered enough to invite? Sometimes parties are just for certain people, I said softly. This one is just for Emily's school friends, but I'm her cousin. We're family. I know, baby. Her eyes filled instantly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Doesn't Aunt Sarah like us? My son started crying too, watching his sister. David scooped him up, his voice dark. Let's go home. The drive back was silent except for sniffles. At home, I put on a movie, set out snacks, tried to soften the blow. David went straight to his office. An hour later, both of our phones started ringing, his first, then mine, then his again. I walked to his office door. David sat at his desk staring at his screen with that cold, controlled expression he used only when someone had crossed a line they shouldn't have. What's going on? He lifted his phone slightly. 15 missed calls. 3 from my sister, 4 from my mother, the rest from my brother and a few cousins. I made a call, he said. What kind of call? The kind that clears up certain business relationships. I eased into the chair across from him. David, what did you do? He turned his laptop. On the screen was an email chain I recognized immediately. Morrison Property Development. My brother-in-law's company. Your sister's husband has been trying to secure a contract with Centennial Group for 6 months, David said. Big development deal. Would set them up for years. I knew this. Sarah had brought it up dozens of times, talking about how much it would change for them. A better house, a private school for Emily, everything they'd been waiting for. What does that have to do with this? David met my eyes. I'm the majority shareholder of Centennial Group. Have been for 3 years. I stared at him. What? Most people don't connect my name to the Centennial companies. It's structured differently. I prefer privacy. You never told me. You never asked about my investment holdings. And it's dull talk anyway. But the point is, your brother-in-law has been negotiating with my team for months. They were going to send the final contract to me next week. I called an hour ago, told them to kill the deal. I just looked at him, stunned. You ended a multi-million-dollar contract because Sarah didn't invite our kids to a birthday party. No. He said, I ended a multi-million-dollar contract because Sarah told our children they weren't important enough. There's a difference. My phone buzzed on the desk. A message from my sister popped up. Why is David torpedoing Mark's deal? What the hell is going on? Then Mimother, your husband is destroying your sister's family financially over a party invitation. Call me now. Then my brother. Dude, this is insane. Call off your husband. David's phone kept buzzing. He declined every call. They didn't know it's you, I said slowly. They didn't know you control Centennial. They do now. I told my team to inform Mark's company exactly why the deal was being terminated. That the chairman personally declined to move forward with a partner who demonstrates poor values regarding family. David, they made our children cry. They told them they weren't important, that they weren't worthy of being included. His voice was calm. Booty could hear the steel underneath. I won't do business with people who treat me family that way. Neither will any company I control. My phone rang. Sir, answered. What the hell is your husband doing? She screamed. Mark just got a call from Centennial Group saying Theodore is dead because of family values concerns and that the decision came directly from the chairman. Do you know what this means for us? I know exactly what it means. This is insane. Over a birthday party, you're going to destroy her financial stability because Emmeline won a bunch of toddlers at her party. They're not toddlers. They're your niece and nephew. They're 6 and 4 years old and they cried today because they couldn't understand why their aunt doesn't think they're important enough. This is not proportional. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost revenue. And you're talking about 2 children who were deliberately excluded from a family event. Tell me which one matters more. I cannot believe you're being this petty. I'm not being petty. My husband is making a business decision. He doesn't want to partner with people who demonstrate cruelty to children. It's actually a pretty reasonable position. You planned this. You knew he could do this and you used it as leverage. I had no idea David controlled Centennial until an hour ago. Apparently, he likes to keep his business investments quiet. But yes, headed this deliberately. And honestly, I'm not sorry. Mom is furious. Dad is furious. Everyone thinks you've lost your mind. Everyone was fine with youtling to children they weren't important enough. So forgive me if I didn't particularly care what Everyana thinks. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is not standing up for my kids sooner. She hung up. Over the next 2 days, the family group cat exploded. My parents demanded we fix this. My brother tried to mediate. Various aunts and uncles weighed in with their opinions on proportional responses and family unity. David ignored all of it. He was in back-to-back meetings restructuring some portfolio companies. When he had free time, he played with kids. On Monday evening, Sarah shouted up at our door. No Mark, no Emily. Just her looking exhausted. Can we talk? I let her in. We sat in the living room. She looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. The family photos on the wall, the kids' artwork on the fridge, the toy bin in the corner. I didn't realize David was that successful, she said finally. Does it matter? It matters that you underestimated the consequences. That's not an apology. She was quiet for a long moment. I was wrong. Not because of Themini. I was wrong before that. She looked up, eyes red. I told Mark that Emily didn't want little kids at her party, but that wasn't true. Emily never said that. I said it. Why? Because I was jealous. Your kids are adorable. Everyone always comments on how sweet they are, how well behaved, and Emily's been going through a difficult phase, tantrums, attitude problems. I felt like Avarion was always comparing them and mine was coming up short. So, you excluded them. I thought it would be easier. One event where Emily could shine without comparison, but I didn't think about what it would do to them. I didn't think about how they'd feel. She whipped her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm genuine Ezri. Not because your husband has financial power, because I hurt 2 children who didn't deserve it. I didn't respond immediately. This was more honesty than Sarah had offered in years. You need to apologize to them, not Tom. To them. I know. I will if you let me. That's up to them. She nodded. And the business deal. That's up to David. But I'll tell you right now, he don't change his mind easily on Sesame crosses a line with our family. I understand. She left quietly. David didn't reinstate the deal. He explained to me later that it wasn't about punishment. It was about principle. Headed and build relationships with people who demonstrated that kind of judgment. There were other contractors, other development companies. Sarah apologized to the kids. She brought Emily over and they did it together. Emily gave them handmade cards inviting them to a special Dover party. Just cousins, my kids forgave her immediately the way children do. The relationship between Sarah and me is still healing. It's been 4 months. We're cordial now, friendly at family gatherings, but there's a distance that wasn't there before. Mark's company survived. They found other projects, smaller ones. They're fine if not thriving the way they'd hoped. My parents eventually came around. Dad said he understood David's position, even if he wished it had been handled differently. Mom still thinks the whole thing was an overreaction. Butch stopped saying so at family dinners. The kids don't remember most of it. They had their cousin party. They got cake and presents in time with Emily. That's what mattered to them. But I remember the tears in the car, the confusion on their faces when they didn't understand why they were excluded. And I'm grateful I married a man who, when faced with that choice, chose our children's dignity over business relationships every single time. Some people think David overacted that destroying a business deal over a party invitation was extreme. But those people didn't see our daughter's face when she asked if Haroun didn't like her anymore. They didn't hear our son crying in the back seat. And they don't understand that sometimes the most important thing you can teach your children is that they matter, that their feelings are valid, that when someone treats them as less than, there are consequences. David taught them that lesson, and honestly, it's the most valuable thing he's ever done for